Hello, hello. I guess we are starting with Dua Lipa having finished her song. Yep. Hello and welcome to today's HR Hour. We want to give you an overview of compensation management in general and, of course, also about compensation management within Personio. We also have a special guest with us today. I'll introduce her later, though. So let's not maybe waste time. Yeah, and just jump straight into today's panel. So from the Personio side, today, Cecilia and me are hosting this event. We are both customer success managers. I think because most of the clients today will probably be from the more international customers. Um, Probably most of us will not have worked with us, but with other colleagues. But I'm pretty sure most of you already know the customer success side of Personio. And like I already mentioned, our special guest today is Niraja. She is the global reward lead at our value customer Knoell. And as a lead, she was responsible for the implementation of Personio, but also including our compensation management tool. And today she will give us insights into the decision-making process behind the implementation, as well as the compensation management itself. And we are accompanied by our valued chat support, Aleph, Yuya, and Camille. So they are handling the chat. We are not going to answer questions in the chat ad hoc, but we will use, maybe go to the next slide. Oh, well, first let's get into agenda. Anyways, they will take care of the chat, and agenda-wise, like I already mentioned, we are going to talk about compensation management more in general. That's my part. Then we are going to do a live demo, which will be hosted by Cecilia, like I already mentioned, Niraja with her um, uh, guest bit here on compensation management. And then we still have a room and time for questions in the end, and we will give you a bit of a roadmap and outlook on what is going to change about compensation management in the near future. So, yep, that's what the slide I imagine coming next first. So yeah, chat guidelines. Let's please stay on topic today. I know there's a lot of stuff always on mind when we're talking about Personio and everything else, but please today the main topic is compensation management. So let's focus on that. For communication, we are using the Q&A function, and like I said, my colleagues in the chat will answer those. And if there are questions directly for Niraja, you can also post them all the time, and we will answer them in the bracket in the end. The recording will be shared on YouTube if you want to forward it later on to any colleagues. So you don't need to take any notes today. We will provide you with the recording, and you can also use the QR code for that. So yeah, I guess maybe some info on upcoming events. We also have on February 26th the What's New at Personio event, where you can look into where you can get this little sneak peek into our latest product releases for Q1. We are going to make a bit of a deep dive. Maybe it's more interesting than just reading the release notes. So always open to join there as well. And I guess that's already it for future events. Let's start then. Compensation management. So yeah, we start up with a poll. I think the questions are pretty obvious. Do you already use a tool for compensation management in your company? Possible answers: yes, we use a tool. We use Personio. No, we don't use a tool. We're just using Excel, or we don't use any tool at all. And also a question about the size of your company. So pretty straightforward. Okay. Already see a lot of answers coming in. I'm not sure. I think we're going to take like 1 or 2 minutes for this part. So, and also I guess we can already see a bit of a trend here. Well, actually, most of the participants today are using not really a dedicated tool, but they are managing their compensation management in Excel or G Sheet or something comparable. I guess we can close it up like this. And actually, the second biggest group is using Personio compensation management, which is great to hear, obviously. Then we still have 20% using another tool and 10% without an actual compensation management process. Company size-wise, we don't have any company with 1,000 employees or more, and with most participants having below 300 employees, and 7 participants with having 300 to 500 employees. Okay, great. Always good to know what my listening group is. So maybe let's dive into our decision why we decided to actually get a compensation management tool within Personio. So internally, we obviously have reflected on which HR functions we want to cover at Personio, and through various studies and surveys, we repeatedly came across the topic of compensation. And when you look into studies like now we have the Forbes study where it suggests that 87% of the respondents said that they are actively looking for job opportunities. I think that's something everyone in HR is facing, especially in this post-pandemic world where everyone is a bit more open to switching jobs, and security maybe feels not that important anymore. And 45% actually said that a salary increase is always a good reason to stay. So that basically means that this is one of the most deciding factors to not switch jobs. And yeah, you can also already see, like, we have another quote then from the PwC. No, maybe one slide back again, from the PwC study, where it says that when it comes to retaining employees, money is the top factor. And actually, regarding fluctuation of employees, that the cost of replacing an employee is somewhere between 90 and 200% of their salary. So not only a hygiene factor, but also something to keep in mind for your CFOs when they talk about not giving up budget for salary increases. Next slide. And yeah, in addition to the risks and costs associated with the employees leaving, the employees' satisfaction and fulfillment are also directly connected to compensation management. So in our own studies, we found out that best-in-class organizations are transparent about their compensation processes. They are detailing how they calculate raises, bonuses, or other rewards, and exactly how the processes and the timeline works. So this is key. And as you can see here, that 40% of the employees believe that they would have a better job satisfaction if their organization had greater transparency. And you can also see the kind of transparency that employees are looking for is connected to compensation management. As 61% say transparency of pay bands would improve their perception of the organization. That's closely followed by 59% wanting clearer information on pay review timetables. And we found another quote from a UK customer where they said that trust is integral to a high-performing company culture. High levels of trust are linked to autonomy, collaboration, and loyalty, to name just a few benefits. And I think that's the number maybe that's connecting the last slide and the current slide again. Businesses whose employees rated them highly on their compensation and total rewards strategy have 56% lower attrition rates. So keep in mind the cost we just talked about. This is a huge factor for everyone involved in the processes. I think I can hand over now to Cecilia to, yeah, give you a live demo of how we do it in Personio, maybe.
Exactly. Hello, everyone, also from my side. I will give you a demo of the compensation tool. So imagine you are a a compensation specialist and want to set up a review cycle for your Munich and London-based office. You would go to the compensation app within Personio, where you will see all your compensation review cycles that have been set up. In order to create a new one, you choose a significant title like the Q2 or Q3 cycle for the London and Munich office. And then Personio will guide you through the setup process in 6 relatively easy steps. At the top, you'll see that the cycle is still in draft mode. And here to the left, you'll see the 6 steps that lie ahead. First of all, you'll choose the cycle participants, you have the option to either choose everyone or a selected group. If you were to choose everyone, you can still remove single participants. And if you were to select a group, you have different selection criteria. And while I lay them out to you, you can think to yourself, what would be the criteria by which you would choose your the employees for the next cycle. You could choose by start date, for example, only include employees that have been with the company for longer than 6 months, or the date of the last salary increase, and you can choose one or more legal entities, offices, employment type, and department. For our example, we'll choose the London and Munich office and create the list. We'll see the employees who will be included in the cycle and can move over to the next step, which is the approval chain. By default, all supervisors are included to work on the suggestions for the salary increase for their direct reports. You can include and exclude the different levels. For example, you could exclude first-line managers or exclude the CEO. Here again, feel free to just think for yourself which levels you personally are including or would include if you were to use the compensation. For our example, we'll include all levels and can go over to performance ratings. You can upload a list of performance ratings using a template that the app readily provides you with. The cycle participants are entered automatically in the template, and all you need to do is entering the performance ratings. And upon confirming and uploading, the ratings will appear here. You have the option to include different compensation types: base salary, one-time compensation, and target goal bonus. For each, you can set the effective date, which is already one of the convenient and safe features of the app, because as soon as the effective date comes, the salaries for the cycle participants will update automatically. So you do not need to manually update the salaries or do it by a bulk upload, and also do not need to remember to do that, but it's done automatically by Personio. For a Q2 cycle, we would choose April, save the date, and as we have different currencies for the London and the Munich office, we are able to set an exchange rate for the different currencies, and Personio does the calculation itself. Now, one of the probably most exciting aspects is, of course, the budget. You can set the budget either on full-time salaries or on effective salaries, and you can set either a global budget or set guidelines. You could, for example, do that for each department, where you define a budget per department. Here again, I invite you to think how you're doing it or how you would do it. And same goes for the next setting, because you can either set an average pay rise, and Personio automatically calculates the budget amount that you would need, or you can enter your predefined budget and see what would be the average pay rise that you could pay from this budget. I would be really interested in knowing if more of you have a set budget or an average in mind. So yeah. You can choose to display the budget to supervisors, and upon saving, you are already set up with your first cycle that includes the London and Munich office. Upon starting the cycle, you as the cycle manager will see all supervisors included. We will now switch to the view of a manager, which in our case is Matilda. So we will take a look at how this process looks like for the manager Matilda. We are logged in as her, go to compensation, and start the review for our Q3 cycle. She will be directed to her worksheet, see that this is pending, meaning that the sheets can be worked on, and how much of the budget is already used. Here, her 3 direct employees are displayed, including the job name, which is especially interesting as you can enter salary bands to Personio and then see where the salary of your employees lie. So for example, in the case of Haley, her salary lies quite in the middle of the band, while James' salary lies below the band. So this is all designed to help a transparent and fair process. To the right, there are further information fields that are aimed at helping the manager to know everything that's important about the employee to consider the salary raise. Either a percentage can be set for an increase, and the amount is again calculated automatically, or the amount can be set and then reverse, the percentage will be displayed. You will also see how her salary moves across the salary band. So although we gave a 3.6 increase, she is still within the band. For James, for example, we would be more generous and set a higher increase, because that would move him within the salary band. You can enter a note, which is the reason for the higher increase. And with that, with the last update, we'll be able to submit the worksheet. As a cycle admin, you will now see the budget that has been used. And we see that Matilda was a little bit maybe too generous with her budget because she's overused it. In total, the budget is used by 18% now. After a certain period of time, or when every manager has filled in their worksheets, you can close the cycle to supervisors. Once it's closed, managers will not be able to edit their worksheets anymore. You as a cycle manager, however, will still be able to manage these. Only once the cycle is completed, also cycle admins will no longer be able to edit the cycle, and you will here have the option to update the salary. We will see that they will become effective as of April and see the total increase. How does this look for an employee? For that, we will log in as James, take a look at the salary, and see that as of April, the salary rises from 3,700 to a little bit over 4,000. And with that, the cycle is completed. Now, having seen the current functionalities, we have again a poll for you. Namely, to what extent could your compensation process be mapped with Personio? And if they cannot be mapped, what would you further need? The options are can be fully mapped, partially mapped, not mapped at all. And as said, please feel free to enter your answers into the free text field, what you would be missing. Compensation as is still being, so there are current updates, not current, constant updates to the app, which we will also see in the roadmap section later. So our team is working on new functionalities, and this is where it's always interesting to hear your voices, what you are missing, so that we can bring that to the engineers. Of course, we can never make promises, but it's always good to hear your perspective. And as we see the results coming in, it looks like almost relatively stable. Half of the participants are answering that the process can be fully mapped, which is great to hear, partially mapped, and then there are also a few saying it cannot be mapped at all. So of course, it would be interesting to know which aspects could not be mapped. And with that, thank you for your participation in the poll, obviously. And with that, over to our guest speaker, Niraja from Knoell. Knoell advises worldwide on the approval of substances and active ingredients, and they help with the global marketability with their team of scientific and regulatory experts and an extensive network of global partners. And with that, over to you, Niraja.
Thank you, Cecilia. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm really happy to be here today to share my experience of using the Personio compensation module for the Knoell group. So if we can move on to the next slide, I can start with a quick introduction about myself. So I am Neeraj and I work with the Knoell group and I work here as the global reward lead. So I am predominantly responsible for end-to-end compensation and benefits across the globe for our 600 plus employees. I'm based out of London, whereas our headquarters we are a German family-run business and we are headquartered in Mannheim in Germany. About me a bit more, I have more than 10 years of experience in the HR and reward space, particularly in the reward space. I've worked across multiple industries in IT, media, pharma, etc. before joining Knoell. I've been here with Knoell for 3 years now, and one of the core improvements that we have done since I've joined here is also the upgradation of the salary review process or the pay review process. And Personio has been a key part of it since 2023. I have been a part of the Compensation Co-Creation Council as well within Personio since its inception. So it was very good from the very beginning to share ideas and to think of how we can make the experience better of compensation management within the tool. So if we go on to the next slide, I wanted to also start talking about in terms of where we were as a firm and how we were dealing with compensation management to where we are now, which is a significant improvement, of course. So previously in Knoell, and this is quite related to the growth trajectory of the company itself, we used another tool for our HR operations, including compensation management, which was very German focused. But since 2019, the company has grown on a trajectory path where we have evolved into this global multinational metrics organization operating in more than 16 countries. And this tool was not suited to our needs then when this evolution happened. The tool that we had earlier, there was no clear workflow or decision making involved within the tool when compensation decisions were being made. And that would then involve a lot of communication that was necessary outside of the tool. It also did not support multiple currencies or countries, again, considering the growth path that we were in, and it was very much German focused. And the communication of the new salaries or decisions that were made from that tool required a lot of manual effort from our team, particularly the people operations team who manage our payroll and contracts and letters, etc., every year. Now, moving forward, since we've used Personio as our HR tool, and it covers our global workforce of 600 plus employees. It's been a significant improvement since then, since 2023. And we've also used the Personio compensation module actively for making those decisions to support our global workforce. One of the main highlights that I felt while using this compensation module, of course, is that there's now a very clear workflow of how the decision making is done within the tool. And I would like to particularly point out the submit worksheet functionality. So if you've seen the demo that Cecilia showed earlier, you would be able to see that you would be able to submit those worksheets after pay decisions are made across the hierarchy of the organization. And there's a lot of transparency around those decisions being made as well. The communication outside the tool has also greatly reduced. It's mostly within the tool and only limited to very exceptional scenarios. There's the notes or the comments section within the compensation module that enables managers to put in any comments as to why a certain salary increase could be either below budget or above budget. So it's all captured within the tool. And it also supports multiple currencies, countries, and supervisors in a cycle if required. Now, for us, this integration internally for Knoell is happening step by step. That's more related to our other internal HR initiatives being phased out in a timely manner. Personio is already ready to support us in this regard, but we are getting there step by step where this integration is happening from our side. And the communication of new salaries, of course, is now seamless and greatly improved from earlier. There's a lesser manual effort involved in general, and it's more automated. And there's a bulk upload functionality within Personio where the letters can be auto-generated based on the template provided, which I'll talk about a bit more in another slide. So if we move on to talking about the communication to our employees a bit more, like I mentioned before, last year when we did the compensation cycle for the very first time using Personio, I would say we were one of the early adopters of the Personio comp module, and it was a great success compared to what tool we were using earlier. The main improvement in terms of how we made the process more systemized was the fact that we used this bulk upload functionality to release reward letters at the end of the cycle. And that involved a manual creation of a confirmation template that we used. And then we could bulk import for all of these employees the new salary information, which could be converted to letters. And earlier, this used to be a very time-consuming process, like I mentioned before. And now in 2025, we are already gearing up for our next pay cycle review upcoming in Q2 this year. And we want to test the reward letter functionality as well, which would be an improvement from the bulk upload functionality. And the automated reward letters would be distributed to the employees directly from the compensation module based on the data entered. So this would be an improvement again this year, and we're looking forward to that. So I also wanted to talk about some of the enhancements for the future that's planned for us as Knoell Group in using the Personio compensation module. And these are some of the solutions that have come from Personio's side for the financial year 2025, based on our feedback, of course, on how the previous cycle went and subsequent improvements as well. So Personio has now enabled the one-time compensation in the compensation app, which you've seen in the demo as well. This would enable managers to also propose any additional bonuses along with salary increments provided, which would be an improvement for us as well. Personio has also enabled job architecture and job pay ranges. This is something that internally within Knoell we already have in place since 2023, particularly for Germany, US, and UK, which are our biggest territories. And Personio has made it much more easier now that we have this in place to put this into system as well and to have this information captured within our HR tool rather than on Excel spreadsheets. Um, they have also enabled the multiple supervisor function so that we can expand our pay cycle globally. Knoll Group is a global metrics organization where we have uh, managers or supervisors in Europe, but we also have dotted line managers or responsibilities in the different regions that we work in, be it US or Asia. And this functionality enables us again to function in that global metrics, and everyone has visibility of the compensation pay decisions being made for our employees. And additionally, as Personio has also enabled new filters within the compensation module, looking at the worksheet. So we are easily now able to filter the data based on our offices or legal entities, departments, salary history, etc. So all of these are new, much better enhancements coming through from Personio that I am definitely looking forward to putting in place for our upcoming peer review cycles and generate a positive experience for our employees. So that's it from my side. I will hand it back to Cecilia now to take over Q&A.
Great. Thank you, Niraja. And I'll hand over directly to Aleph.
Thank you so much. Niraja, these are wonderful insights. Thank you so much for explaining to us and the audience how you implemented the compensation management tool and how it helped you and the company over the past 2 years. Maybe one question to start with. How much time did you save with the introduction of the Personio compensation management app in general, also maybe in comparison to the old tool that you used?
Sorry, could you repeat the question again? I didn't get
Yeah,
that.
sure. The question was like, how much time did you save by using the Personio compensation management app in comparison to how the process was before that?
Yeah, so definitely we did save a lot more time. Prior to Personio, while we did our pay review cycle within Knoll, it typically end to end, the whole process took 6 months, which is a long time for a financial year. And we have now been able to cut that down to 2 months, which is a significant improvement. And I would like us to get to a stage where we cut that down a bit further as well. But that's more related to factors internally rather than the tool itself. But Personio has greatly helped in that. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much for that. And maybe as a follow-up question, we have one question from the audience. Can you please explain how it works for the multi-currency? Is it possible to have a summary in only one currency at the end? Also, can we have multi-currency in the same legal entity? If you're not able to answer that, maybe we can also, Camille or myself can also answer on that.
Yeah, I can explain the first part, and maybe Alav, you can tackle the second part from what I understand. But from my perspective, of course, it's possible to have multi-currency like the demo that Cecilia had shown earlier. We would need to put in the exchange rates if you decide what the main currency is for your company. For us, it has always been euros because we are a German company, and the exchange rates would be provided accordingly for our other entities where outside of Germany or the currency is different. And I would typically present my summary or the budget summary, spending summary to the board at the end in euros, because again, we talk in euros and we work in euros. So yeah, that's been us.
Thank you so much for that. And also, yeah, from a product technical perspective, it is, as you said, so we currently have the possibility to have different currencies, but for one legal entity, the status quo is that we only have one supported currency. For example, in Germany, it would be euro. If you have a legal entity in the UK, in London, it would be pound. So for now, it's actually not possible to have multi-currencies in the same legal entity. Camille, if you want to add anything on that, feel free to put that also in the chat. I hope that helps already a little bit. Okay, then as a next question, maybe, how fast did you implement the app, and did you roll out globally first, or did you only start in Germany with the headquarters?
So I would say that we implemented really quickly. If I look back, and I'm quite surprised at the speed at which we did implement the comp module. But being a part of the compensation co-creation council from the very beginning was quite helpful, because there was an early insight into how the product would look like, and that gave a sense of comfort and security for me to go forward and implement it live for the very first time. I would say that we implemented it within 2 months from its launch, which was quite early on, and we got a lot of positive feedback, and also areas of improvement, of course, but generally positive feedback within that short time scale. So that was a great experience, of course. We launched the cycle last year for our headquarters based in Germany, where we have most of our employees. So I would say around 80% of more than 80% of our workforce are still based out of Germany, although we are expanding globally. So the pay cycle was started for our Knoell, Germany office, covering most of our employees, and we are adding more countries onto it step by step, based on how we progress this year.
Well, thank you so much for that. We have one more question from Rachel. What are the salary bands based on? Yesterday in the German session, Dominica also explained a little bit the source that you're using, but maybe you can pick it up from here.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Rachel, for the question. So our salary bands are based on market data. So we have worked with one of our vendors quite closely to look at market data in our major countries, particularly Germany, US, and UK. And we looked at job bands, where we looked at different jobs or positions that we have within Knoll, and how the market salary rates are compared to that. And then we extrapolated a country level salary band out of it, where we have significant number of headcount, and that would be a predominantly primary source of looking at market data. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, if not, Rachel, feel free to ask a follow-up, or there's already a follow-up coming. But maybe we can start with the question from Nathan. Is your reward compensation strategy based on performance at Knoll? If yes, how do you reflect that within Personio?
Yes, so we would say that our reward compensation strategy is based on performance at Knoll. We have our total reward philosophy within Knoll, where one of our pillars or stronger pillars within that is pay for performance. So all of our salary or new salary decisions or bonus payout decisions are based on performance. We do not have a performance ratings system yet internally within Knoll. This is currently in progress, where we would introduce this over the next 2 to 3 years. But we have multiple calibration meetings, particularly pay calibration meetings, where we discuss with our leaders on the level of pay increases given. Does it attribute to performance? There is a strong sense of fairness, and also check-in from our side, which is the global people and culture team, which is the HR team, to make sure that the decisions being made are performance driven and is fair. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much. Rachel, you have two more questions. The first question with the salary bands. So Camille is also answering on that, but maybe to pick it up from here is we have the job architecture in Personio, and within the job architecture, you're able to then add the salary either as a global band or by office. For example, you could say as a customer success manager in Munich, the salary band goes from this amount to this amount, in London from this amount to this amount, and this will then be later reflected in the compensation management, where you, as Cecilia showed us, can later see if somebody is within the salary band at the end or at the beginning of the salary band. So this is definitely a feature in Personio that you can use, and that we definitely recommend, as Knoll is also using it, to really have a good and transparent overview of how are your employees being paid currently. Okay, what else do we have? So, Rachel, there's one more question from you. Also, can you talk more about how we can allocate budget? Is there a way to have an overall budget under one BP org leader, which is then divided among the managers? Does Personio help with this automatically, or is this managed manually? Can you pick it up from here, Niraja, or do you need maybe more explanation?
I'm not completely sure if I would be able to allocate budget based on the manager or the supervisor, how we call it in Personio. But typically within Knoell, the approach that we have taken is that we've always allocated budgets based on our offices or our locations, because the salary increase budgets are always quite market driven, as you would know. So the average pay increase in your London office could be very different from your Munich office based on how salary trends have been every year. So that's something that we closely monitor each year and make recommendations on based on that. So that's the approach that we take predominantly. But it's also possible to allocate budgets based on departments as well. So if you have assigned departments within the different teams that in your company, then of course that can also be used to redistribute the budget.
Yeah, that would also be a recommendation from our side, Rachel. You can definitely add as many compensation cycles as you want. For example, you can do one for Europe, you can do one for Munich, you can do one for the department A, and then one for the department B. So you can definitely split up the budget and then put the respective participants into the cycle. So it makes sense for you. Or maybe you have one for normal employees, and then you have a cycle for supervisors or C-level where you have less employees participating in that because you have an extra additional budget for the C-level. I hope that helps a little bit. Let's have a look. Is it possible to allocate budget per team? So Nathan, your question, maybe I can pick it up. So each supervisor will have a dedicated budget for the team. That can definitely be shown, and you can also override it, how Cecilia showed. So if there's a good reason why you need to override your budget, no, sorry, team attribute. I actually need to check that. I'm not 100% sure from now, but maybe Camille can answer on that. She's also doing that. Perfect. And we will get the answer and I can read it out loud later. Okay. Any other questions from the audience to our guest speaker? I think we tackled all of the questions. I actually have one more question. So what was actually the feedback that you received from the supervisors regarding the new process? Was it kind of hard to get the stakeholders into the new process, or did they like it? What was the general feedback?
I would say that before we launched the pay review cycle in the compensation module last year, Personio was only 2 months old in the company itself, so it was a relatively new system. We did a lot of sessions prior to that where we launched Personio as a tool itself, as the HR tool to work with. And that did help to a great extent because the supervisors felt it was quite easy to use. It's intuitive. The tool is quite simple to look at and all of that. So riding on that success, I think, it helped us to also implement the compensation module relatively easy, because for us, the supervisors are the key stakeholders when it comes to using Personio as a tool and the compensation module as well. And their buy-in was critical. So we did focus groups within our company where we shared the tool and its functionality, and they were able to share feedback. And this is a constant process where they engage with us and share that with us. So that has helped.
Thank you so much for that. Perfect. I think we are done with all the questions. Thank you so much for your time, for coming here, for answering the questions, and also talking about your internal processes. I think I speak for the audience, and it was very, very helpful. So thank you so much, and we see you. Bye bye. Handing back over to Cecilia.
Yes. So also from my side, thank you for the additional very interesting insights, Nirvaja, and of course, thank you to the audience for all of your questions. Now let's take a look ahead. So what updates are coming for compensation? The compensation app, as a recap, is designed to make compensation reviews more easy, fairer, and faster. And we have seen in the very beginning in Flo's presentation why this is so important. And there are 2 updates coming that I wanted to highlight that are aimed at further enhancing this aim of the compensation app. The first is the goal-based bonus. So you can add a target bonus, and managers can then enter a percentage split between fixed salaries and the goal bonus. So it's a more clearer process, and it's also faster and more accurately. Of course, if you have more components, you can display your individual salary structure or the salary structure within your company in a better way. This information will also go into the reward letter, so also the employee is informed about that. Another change that will come is the customization of the worksheets. Managers will be able to toggle on and off attributes displayed in the worksheets. During my demo earlier, you had seen that there are quite a few attributes, and managers now have full control over what information they see in the sheet, and so that they have the right information at hand, but are not overloaded by all information. So I think these are two exciting updates to be looking forward to. And with that, we come to the end of the webinar. We have one last poll for you, and that's: how did you like the HR hour on compensation management? The very first option is that you are interested in the app, that we were able to raise your interest, that you learned something new while already using the compensation management app. Or if you were missing relevant content, please feel free to add in the second question what you would have wished for. We are, of course, always interested in learning and getting better, so your feedback is really valuable for us. And we'll give you some time to put in your answers. And as still answers are coming in, we'll give you a few more seconds before closing out the poll. And it looks like the majority is not really interested in the app, which we are, of course, very glad to hear. And for those who answered that content was missing, I'm looking forward to reviewing the answers to the second question. Now, with that, thank you all for joining. To you, the audience, and of course, a special thank you to Niraja and Aleph. Niraja for your guest contribution, and Aleph for moderating the Q&A. And with that, I wish you a lovely rest of your Thursday and have a great day.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Cecilia. Thank you, Aleph.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.